first things first, it is the same company like that bought everything. One company is established specifically to hold the crypto asset because if you guys remember, the SEC had they didn't want the trustee to sell the crypto assets, which was the latest update in the case that just came out last week. And then so one held the technology, one of the companies held the technology, one of the companies held the crypto assets, and it sold for $500,000.
Everything, all in all, Don?
Yeah, which is kind of interesting because in 4 months, like $8 million gets released to the original contract from the liquidity unlock, um, and it I'm not sure. I didn't see this asset listed, but I think the wallet that, locked the liquidity that receives the funds at the end of it, um, like receives that money. And which means that they spent $500,000 to get 8.4 million. But I'm not sure if that's the case or not. So maybe the original developers still have the PKs to that wallet.
But
In
it
my,
doesn't. Go ahead, Julie. Go ahead.
I just wanted to say, Don, in my opinion, you guys should have got that. You guys should have got all of Safe Moon.
I, we were really upset about it, but the trustee did what she wanted to do. So
I remember this is how I left it. Like last time I ran up there for the family, Tony, you guys wrote a bunch of letters. You emailed, and some of you wrote physical letters, and they were mailed to me. I think Tony collected them, and then I went up to the courthouse, had them stamped. Tony was filing. Someone was watching the filings, and they were submitted to the judge. So with were hundreds of entries, letters, and different things. They were all scanned and filed or emailed directly to the judge. And this brings me to the other part of it because, did I make a claim for my Safemoon tokens there? I did, but I haven't heard. Of course, I haven't been following it. But has anyone heard who did file and say, "Hey, I was a token holder. Here's my wallet." Has there been any follow up for any payout or whatever they think we deserve as holders from the previous company, the previous owners? Any updates on that, guys?
so no, there hasn't been an update on there. Um, Specifically, because of the issue that we just talked about was the latest motion filed. I think it was the SEC. They filed the motion. And basically it says we're going to release the money that we're holding in the bank accounts to the trustee. The trustee promises that she's not going to give this money to any of the three people named in the indictment. That's John, Thomas, and Kyle. The trustee says she's not going to give them the money and she's going to use it for the purposes of the bankruptcy. So she also said, has to agree not to sue the SEC for any damage that they may have caused by holding onto the money. So that's the motion that just passed. So they couldn't do anything with any of the assets until they got access to the money. Which again would be the reason why, the timely ask came in for their 500 plus $1,000 legal retainer that they are getting paid out on.
Okay. Okay. Don, can everything, just to be clear, everything that Don's sharing with us, I understand this is just public record that anyone can have access to if they're following the
Yeah,
case today, correct? Right?
none of this information is excluded from, is exclusive to me. It's all public knowledge.
Okay. Okay. Okay, John, revisit something you said. You were talking about how they put 500,000 down, approximate for the bid for all of SafeMoon assets. And then you mentioned that you gave a time frame. I forgot what you said there, but they will be releasing some of the SafeMoon
Oh yeah.
assets into the contract or
No. So remember when, and this is pretty much what started all of this, when SafeMoon first launched, some of their liquidity was locked. And it was locked up for a certain number of years. I don't know how many years, maybe 5 years, 4 years. I'm not sure how long the liquidity was locked for. But that liquidity, it becomes unlocked in like 5 or 4 months. So,
interesting.
um,
And for
yeah.
500,000, they basically bought that
Well,
opportunity.
I'm not sure if that specific private key or wallet, I'm not sure if that was listed or transferred to the new owners. One thing that I am sure of is like that wallet was not explicitly listed in the asset list that was transferred.
Interesting. Interesting. So there's the possibility that the judge could be, or the trust, not, is it trustee? Is that who the correct term? Whoever's
So yeah,
controlling
both would have
assets.
to be involved. Both have to be involved with the ask. Like the trustee would say, "Hey, I want to do this," and the judge would say, "Okay, yeah, you can do that."
All right. So there's a possibility because didn't they liquidate everything? There was about 17,000 in Safemoon assets. I mean, the company had money still.
17 million. Yeah, yeah, yeah,
17 million. I'm sorry. I'm
yeah,
sorry. I'm
yeah,
thinking of personal finances.
yeah.
17 million and, there. So this is going to unlock that wallet. If you're tracking it, is there like today's value? Where do you think that liquidity is? If I'm
Oh,
using the right terms.
yeah. You can see what's locked. It'd be on the V1 contract, and I think it's locked. It's locked in Pancake Swap, if I'm not mistaken. So you
Didn't
just
you
look
give a
at the
number of eight? Was it 8 million? Is that what you said?
yeah, approximately 8.4.
Unbelievable. Okay, so there's two ways that can go. It could potentially, we don't know, but it could be when it is unlocked, and I don't know who is holding it hostage. I mean, couldn't the judge and trustee say unlock it now, or is there really some type of
No,
physical lock?
no,
Okay,
because like yeah, it's DeFi. So like ideally, like the protocol itself is locked and you can't do anything to unlock it because it's run by, a decentralized protocol.
okay. But it will, as you mentioned, there is a time frame on that, Don, and those assets will be available to potentially the trustee or the owner of the new IP.
Yeah.
Where do you've already said
So
this, but
here
repeat it.
here is what's interesting, and I pop in and out of spaces sometimes and hear them talking about this. But what's interesting is I think, in my opinion, the lock on those funds may have predated John Caroni era at SafeMoon, meaning that he may not be the only person with those private keys.
So you're saying Cal Nagy might have those fucking keys?
Maybe Thomas has them. Maybe a third party developer that they were using had them. They had a lot of developers at that time, so um, that's what I'm saying. So like the lock could predate his time. So like you know, and this is what I heard in a space. Therein lies the potential that when it unlocks, it may be a race to the bottom to withdraw the fund. So it's going to be an interesting day. I don't know what happens with it, but hopefully everything is above board.
Hey, Thule, you were speaking for a second. Did you have some insights on before we move on to the other people? Did you have some
Well,
insights on those as well, Thule?
well, the thing I noticed, if I'm not mistaken, right at when this happened, the exchange was in test phase. I think we were witnessing it on testnet when all of this happened. Is that right, Don? Do you know anything about that?
Yeah, yeah, the exchange was ready to go.
Yeah.
Well, even the contract, the blockchain was further, like it was like moments away from launching.
Yeah, we were preparing to be one of the first validators on a blockchain as well.
I remember that conversation there.
Yeah.
It seemed like if 2 or 3 months more, had remained, that some bigger deliverables would have, been delivered, right?
It was within 30 days of that date that they would have been delivered.
Perfect. Hey, there's been a lot of controversy over the handling of the assets, how they were liquidated, how they were just taken from the trustee. Don, I know that you have, your ongoing stuff, legal stuff. What can we speak of on how that was handled? Because I know a lot of the family feel that we were shortchanged on assets that we feel that we were part of because we held the token.
Yeah, I mean, I think the biggest ruling that kind of impacted everything is the ruling by the judge. And again, this is my understanding of what the ruling said. And this is not verbatim, but they said that the liquidity pool is the asset of the estate, And as such, they could liquidate the liquidity pool as they saw fit. So Safemoon owns the LP, and so they could liquidate it, and that was a point of contention.
So that brings us to the point where, like me filing my claim for being a SafeMoon holder, we gave them the wallet address, and I haven't checked emails again. Last 5 months I've been over in Ukraine, so I haven't been staying on top of this. But is there any update for the holders? The individual token holder. Has anyone in our family here on this in the panel or down below. Have any of you guys been reached out from the attorneys or the trustee and, any conversations that we know of?
Negative. And I've talked to a few people that actually filled out those forms and nothing back yet.
Well, that's been my experience there.
Yeah, the creditors will be contacted before the token holders.
Interesting. Interesting. Don, how's the communication been? Because you're listed as a creditor, at least BBTF is. How's the communications been with the court? Is this kind of a standard interaction, and if they've been on top of things, or has it
Yeah,
been
as it relates to a bankruptcy proceeding, I feel like our attorneys, have they haven't raised any concerns with us. So
okay? Okay. Well, that pretty much covers the questions I had written down. At the end of the day, I want to see how if the family's being taken care of, and it sounds like our biggest opportunity to potentially get something back towards us is if SafeMoon contract if the company who bought SafeMoon assets decides to build or not, and gives us another opportunity to rebuild the dream. Is that pretty much what it boils down to, as you guys see it?
That's what I think. I think that's what they're doing with the low liquidity, just to not put too much in there, just to bring it all crashing back down. So I think in,
well, yeah, you got to think about it like
yeah,
this too. Like as that organization, they put in, even if they put in 1 million in liquidity, you still have all the tokens that were previously out there.
Yes.
And even the people that filed a complaint, not only did they or file for a refund, not only did they file for a refund, but they're still holding those tokens. So it's just going to be a perpetual chart with excessive negative or sell pressure. So like that's what they're battling with, and it's almost necessary to launch a V3 version of the token to just, you know, deal with the sell pressure, or provide double the liquidity that was in there. So they'd have to provide at least six, probably close to $12 million in liquidity in order to stabilize the price where it is. And again, this is not me having a conversation about price, let me say that. But just hypothetically, in a scenario, it's for VGX Foundation or whoever the person is providing liquidity for the token, it's almost not in their best interest to fully see the liquidity because of the excessive, sell pressure that they're walking into. And I'm not saying that the sell pressure is anything other than the fact that people have lost faith in SafeMoon due to the allegations by the SEC. Like there's a direct correlation between being indicted by the SEC and large sales on the chart.